Good afternoon, Knicks Nation. Sorry for the lateness of the day. I had a busy morning. I hope you're all safe and healthy. I hope your family is safe and healthy and that the needs of you and your family in terms of food, shelter, clothing, as well as health is being met today. Blessings upon those that work in the area of health, who walk along first responders in emergency rooms everywhere in different emergencies, saving lives. Those also that pick up garbage, keep our places clean, and those that make deliveries for our convenience. Double blessings on the men and women trying to help rescue, deliver, and recover teenagers and children, the victims of child molestation and pedophilia. Those trying to help and rescue the victims of prostitution and child prostitution, pornography, child pornography, human trafficking, and sex slavery. Double curses on the perpetrators, profiteers, and perverts that cause these wicked industries to exist. Finally, double blessings on the homeless. More than 700,000 men, women, children, families, senior citizens, military veterans, homeless in the United States of America. Blessings upon them, for theirs is the kingdom. There was a basketball game last night, Madison Square Garden. New York Knicks lost to the Atlanta Hawks, 107-106. And it took me really analyzing it in my brain. And that's why I don't do immediate reactions after the game. I'm really not interested in people's overreaction about a Knicks loss or overreaction about a Knicks win. I really want to see how we can win this chip, and I want to see what would stop us. In the beginning of the series, I said, if the Knicks stick to the game plan, they will beat Atlanta because they're the better team. And I said, if the Knicks do not stick to the game plan and Atlanta sticks to their game plan, the Knicks will lose. Okay? That's what happened last night. For 3/4 of the game, the Knicks were dominant. They really were. The ball was moving. They ended up the night with 22 assists, but most of those were the first half. The ball was moving. They were rebounding the ball. As we said, the Hawks had no answer for Karl Anthony Towns. Josh Hart would have been the MVP if they had won the game. He was really balling his tail off. 6 assists, 13 boards, 15 points. He really locked down defense. He was really balling his tail off. But how do we lose this game? That is in Jalen Brunson's hands. Let me explain. During the course of the game, they were looking for Cat. Brunson was picking his spots. And again, the Knicks were controlling the pace. So that Atlanta had in the half court Knicks offense, Atlanta had no answer for Towns or any of the guys that were cutting off the Towns' passes or cutting to the basket. Had no answer. Then came the end of the third quarter and the beginning of the fourth quarter. Jalen Brunson started forcing shots and forcing offense. The moment I saw him, he does it a couple times now. He doesn't do it as much as he used to, but when he is trying to force against 94-foot defense, that's a bad sign, as I mentioned many times. And if they let Mikal, Josh, OG bring the ball up, that's really what happens, is that opens everything up. Even for Brunson. He's last night, when I started seeing him in the third quarter try to go at Dyson Daniels and force his way over the timeline, I knew he was in trouble. And he kept doing it. So that if you watch this game again, you will notice in the fourth quarter, the Knicks were setting up their offense almost at the half-court line. Because Brunson was getting over the half-court line and they were forcing him back. Okay? How can you alleviate that? It's very simple, really. Karl Anthony Towns or OG Anunoby or Mikal Bridges could post, which is what they do, could post in the circle, okay, the foul line circle. And that puts the ball there. That causes their team to back up. And now your offense is closer to the basket when you're getting ready to set everything up. But when Brunson is dribbling the hell out of the ball and coming over the timeline with 17 seconds or 16 seconds left, and now we're way away from the heat of the action, away from the paint, it messes everything up, number one. And number two, when they were doubling him and sometimes triple teaming him, I'm like, why won't we feature Cat right now? Because all you got to do is put the ball in Cat's hands and everything opens up. Because now they got to guard Cat. They got to watch for cutters. But he didn't. He had 2 costly turnovers at that time. And Every time they got to stop because he threw up a bad shot or he turned the ball over, guess what Atlanta started doing? Running. Okay, we had prevented that because of the ball control we had and because of the off-ball movement of Brunson and because the ball was in Cat's hands. We had prevented them from running. That's how we controlled the pace. But when Brunson would turn the ball over or take a bad shot or fall and slip, they were running. Then, once they caught up to the Knicks and took the lead, what they did, and again, we're going to face this however long we're in the playoffs. They would switch until you had the best player of their offense, which yesterday, I don't know who their best player is. Some people might say it's, it could be Nicole Alexander-Walker. It could be Jalen Johnson. I think it's Jalen Johnson. But yesterday, the best player for them was McCollum. He was the best player on the floor for them yesterday, okay? C.J. McCollum was the best player on the floor for them yesterday. So they would get McCollum one-on-one with Brunson. And Brunson was at his mercy. Okay, that's how they got the lead. Okay, so when they would get a missed shot or a turnover, they would run. If the Knicks got back, which they did, they would get back on defense very aggressively, then set up the half court. When they set up the half court, they want McCollum with Brunson guarding him and the floor open. And we was in trouble. Okay? That's really what lost the game. The Knicks still had a chance. Brunson hits a big three with, I think there was like 20 seconds left or less. He hits a big three that ties the game. And then they come down and score, and McCollum is on the line with 2 shots, and it's 107-106, right? And so he misses. And there's 5 seconds left. Now, while McCollum was on the line, the clock is stopped 10 seconds. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, I know Brown is running up. He's drawing up a play right now. Okay, while McCollum is on the line, because no matter what, if McCollum hits the 2, it's a 3-point game. If he hits 1, it's a 2-point game. If he don't hit 1, it's a 1-point game. But regardless, you gotta call timeout as soon as the ball comes off the rim and set up the play that you should be drawing up while he's on the line. And I don't know if he wasn't doing that. I didn't even look at the post game yet. But Mikal Bridges busts up the court. I guess he got a clean look. But when you're only down 1, you don't need a 3. And they're in the bonus. You set up a play and you get aggressive to the hole. That's what I was thinking to myself. When I saw him miss that second one, I said, we got a shot right now. When he missed the first one, I was like, man, worst case scenario, it's a 2-point game. Overtime. So I was thinking, I know Brown is drawing up a play right now. I know he is. And he's going to call timeout, and they're going to get the ball on the side. I don't care if they advanced the ball or not. If they just took it out right there, it's enough time to get a play and get a good, clean shot. But they didn't. So as that game was going, and there were some signs that were bad all the way around. They were missing their free throws yesterday. When I saw OG miss a couple free throws, OG was 4 of 8 from the free throw line. That ain't OG. That was messed up, okay? And then Deuce played like on defense, Deuce played great, as he usually does. But they credit him with 2 turnovers, but he threw like 3 or 4 terrible passes yesterday. And I was like, what the hell? You don't throw those passes in high school. And it wasn't just him. I mean, Cat had 3 turnovers. Brunson, of course, I mentioned, had 3 turnovers. There was some dumb-ass passes throwing into the passing lane where people are just waiting for you. So it was bad omens, but still, with all of that, the Knicks was balling through 3 quarters. Again, they go into the 4th quarter. The Knicks outscored them 32-23 in the first quarter. They got outscored 31-29 in the second. So they finished the first quarter up 9, going to the half up 7. Then they went in the 3rd quarter, outscored them 25-30. They go up 12 going into the 4th quarter. They had a 14-point lead at one point. But then Atlanta outscores them by 13 in the 4th. And again, it was because of the pace. They had that thing. So, again, what happened? The Knicks and Brunson went away from their game plan. And that going away from the Knicks game plan allowed Atlanta to implement their game plan. And we still had a chance to win with 10 seconds left. So it's not the end of the world. I would have liked to go down, go back to the ATL with a 2-game lead, but okay, this is a series now. And like I said, I still think it's a 6-game Knicks win. But what do we do going forward is the key here. So you continue to feature Towns. They still have no answer for Towns. And we would have won this game if they did that in the fourth quarter yesterday. But that's what Mike Brown's got to do. Yes, Jalen Brunson messed up. Mike Brown, a couple of times I thought, should have called timeout and said, move the basketball. Cat, and especially Daniels, it was Dyson Daniels, it was Nicole Alexander Walker, it was CJ McCollum and Jalen Johnson applying 94-foot pressure to the Knicks. You don't want, and then here's Jalen Brunson insisting on getting the ball. I'm like, what the hell? This is where you want McCall, like I said, OG. You want Hart bringing the ball up, okay? And they got to have the ball moving through the air to get over the timeline, and that's how you do it. And you set up your offense in the middle of the floor with Cat. That nullifies all of that. That they could do. And then once you give the ball to Cat, like I said, he could pass, he could shoot, he can go to the hole. There's a lot of things. You got all kind of options. And it opens Brunson up. It opens everybody up. So going forward, they got to stick to that game plan. They could beat Atlanta. I mean, Atlanta is not the better team. They were yesterday, obviously, because the Knicks allowed them to be. But if the Knicks stick to the game plan and control the pace as they've been doing, we know Atlanta wants to run. But in the first game and 3 quarters of yesterday, they couldn't. Okay? Because the Knicks was controlling the defensive boards, getting in the paint. And the Knicks end up losing the battle of the paint 58-54, whereas at like halftime or the third quarter, the Knicks was up big points in the paint. They mentioned that. I think they mentioned it during the broadcast because they was getting what they wanted. It wasn't until, and it was like a trap. See, Quinn Snyder is a hell of a coach. And so he saw what I saw. And he saw the opportunity for them to take advantage. And the trap was, let's let Brunson try to be the hero in the fourth quarter. You know, the clutch player of the year and all that. By the way, they didn't mention the finalists for clutch, and they didn't have Brunson's name in there. Anyway, so he said, okay, let him. We'll double him. And they did. All we would have had to do in that case is get the damn ball to Cat. That's all. See, Cat is so tough that when he does get the ball, they need to double him. And if they double him, guess what Brunson going to do? Go off. But if they double in Brunson and he refused to give up the rock except to try to get it back when you still all the way at the half-court line, that ain't going to fly, as we saw. That ain't going to fly. Now, we still only lost by 1 point. It wasn't like they dominated us, but again, it was because the Knicks allowed them to do that. The Knicks got to take this more serious. Brunson's got to take this more serious. Cat is a good teammate. He really wants to win the chip. And look, Cat playing better defense now. For real, for real. He's playing much better defense now. You know, he was +5 yesterday. He's playing much better defense now. Okay. Brunson, if he allows the ball to move, would have more energy to try to stay in front of somebody in a one-on-one, because they did what everybody's going to do that in the fourth quarter. See, this is what you want when you're on the road in the playoffs. And usually this is actually true also during the regular season, but it's amplified in the playoffs. What you want to do, and what the Hawks did, is you just want to stay close. You don't need to take the lead in the second quarter and run away. If you can, you do it, but you don't force it. What you want to do is stay close. You want to stay close till you get to the fourth quarter. Okay, and then you can figure out how to get in front. But in the Knicks side, you want to extend that. You want to make that 12 and 14, 20 and 22, okay, and so that you have more control, which they didn't. Atlanta stayed close. That's all you want to do on the road. See, no matter what happened, if we let them win or we screwed up, they won. That's all that matters. They come out of New York with a split. They don't care how they get it done. This is the playoffs. The end game is to get the dub, and they got it. So that's our end game. We want to get the dub in the ATL. So what we need to do is stick with the game plan. Whether it's in New York or in Atlanta, I don't care what floor it's on. Stick with the game plan. Okay? Stick with the game plan. So with that, they got to continue to do that. The ball has to move. Now, it is the playoffs, so you know it's not going to be as easy to score, okay? But stick with the game plan. Atlanta did it very well yesterday. They just stick with the game. Their game plan was to stay close. Stay close. Don't let it be a blowout. Stay close. And then at the end, they already had the trap set for Jalen Brunson. They knew what he was going to do. He was going to try to take over. Okay, you're going to have to do it against two guys. And he tried. Instead of letting go the freaking ball, he tried to take the two guys. Bad news. Bad move. Bad move. They only credited Brunson with 3 turnovers. But man, he looked like he had more than that to me. And then if he had 3, he had them all in the fourth quarter. Because he was screwing up big time. Okay? And I was like, will you let go of the basketball, please? Just let it go. He would let it go. He would do what Juju used to do. Remember, Juju would get the ball. Juju would give up the rock and then run right over to try to get it back. That's what he was doing yesterday. It's driving me crazy. I was like, dude, would you just back off? Go off ball. Because they got to follow him. If they don't follow Jalen Brunson, he's going to kill them. But that's what he could have did. So, in the ATL, stick with the game plan. Move the freaking ball. Feature Cat. When they're in the fourth quarter, they're going to want to trap you. They're going to want you to get the ball out your hand because they know you won't go off. Give it up. It'll come back to you. Give it up. Start the offense in the middle of the floor with Cat. It could be McCall or Cat or OG or Job. Anybody, but Cat's the most dangerous one. Start the offense in the middle of the floor. Don't try to dribble up against full court pressure. They're going to give that to you, and they expect you to try to fight up against a brick wall. Don't do it. Bring the ball up. Pass it, get it into the middle of the floor, and set your offense from there, okay? And then, Deuce wasn't playing good offense. Shamet was hurt. I couldn't believe that the floor was wet, that he planted his foot and his foot slipped. That's terrible maintenance. You'd think we playing in Boston Garden. I was like, what kind of maintenance is that? Because they have ice underneath the floor sometimes at Madison Square Garden for the Rangers. But I was like, what the hell, man? You can't be doing that now. Not now. And then homeboy almost hurt himself, So, yeah. So anyway, Mitch Robb was a monster. He was. But they're going to have to do better. They're going to have to do better in executing the game plan. Okay, this is the playoffs. And I'm kind of glad it happened. I don't like watching them lose, obviously, right? But I'm kind of glad it happened like this because they could figure this out. It's not hard. It's not rocket science. So Quinn Snyder, he trapped Brunson. That was the chess move. Okay, so we got to have a counter chess move. That's what the playoffs all about. So you do the same thing you did in the first 3 quarters. They ain't got an answer for you. They got nothing. And then in the fourth quarter, you stick with it. Okay, until they start doubling Cat. Then you start going off. Because ain't nobody going to guard Brunson one-on-one. That ain't happening. Okay? You make them work hard, and then that's when we can pull it out. So that's the game plan going forward, man. Mr. Brunson, come on, baby. You got to come up higher than that. We can do it, okay? I believe in you. Let's do this. So next game Thursday, tonight, tonight is Boston, Philly. Like I said, Boston going to sweep them. If they don't sweep them, I'll be surprised. They're going to sweep them tonight. It's going to be Boston, Philly. Last night, Cleveland beat Toronto again. Minnesota ties up the series with Denver. I expect Minnesota to give them a run. Minnesota has beaten them in playoffs before, so it's not like they haven't done it. They can do it. So that's that. And then, of course, we know on Thursday night, the Knicks come back. Detroit and Orlando, they come back in Detroit on tomorrow with Orlando up 1-0. Let me tell you something else, too. That first game is real important, man. Real important. See, yesterday, I told y'all, all pressure was on ATL. They had to play desperate. They did, for their credit. They had to. Because if they go back to the ATL down 2-0, it's over, okay? It's the same with Detroit, though. Orlando done stole the first game. Detroit got to play desperate Wednesday. Otherwise, we may not be seeing Detroit. But again, like I said yesterday, that's their problem. This Brunson got past the damn ball. Anyway, enjoy the games that are on tonight. Tonight, like I said, we got, as far as We got Boston, Philly. I ain't gonna watch that because it's gonna be a blowout. Portland against San Antonio, Lakers, Houston. I really don't give two craps, but whatever. Those are the games on tonight. And then tomorrow, we're not playing tomorrow either, but I will be watching an Orlando-Detroit game. Yo, don't worry about this one. Now it's time for the counter move. Mr. Brown, Mr. Brunson, time for the counter chess move. Okay? We'll be all right. Okay? Don't trip. I know there's people out here tripping, and I already know. It's 1-1. Let's get the dub. Talk to y'all soon. Shalom.